Test. I hate that.
Is this my
That's your mic.
mic? Okay. Okay.
Okay, if you don't, let me know.
Thank you.
Crank it out.
The only other thing I will need is maybe some dull pencils so they can lightly poke the bird. Maybe one and
I lost my glasses again. I have these, but maybe
what? Teaching horticulture? Gardening? My whole life.
Pull up Marcelo, that's awesome.
Cool.
Well, I would say over 16 years.
For 60 years.
Yeah, because I followed my dad professionally.
At the end, we can mention that.
Oh, yes. That's a good idea. Okay, I like it.
Since I was 13.
You've been doing it professional.
Yes, my father bought a nursery to work there. When I was 13.
You're 40, what?
40? Really? A very good chance. I'm on Medicare now.
For half a cent, you've been doing this professional.
It's generational.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'm gonna brag you about that. Yeah.
What is this?
Okay. Colorado. Let's get started. I'll grab that. And let's put this, let me put my phone down. Actually, let me turn off my phone.
Somebody was saying they needed pens.
Oh, let me grab, oh yeah, do we have one for this one? We do, okay. Let me turn off my ringer before we get started. And it's already time, isn't it? Yes, it is. So we get started now. Okay, we got, that's one, two. Okay, that's one, two. Check, check. Okay, you guys, wow, look at how many people. Mitzi, look how popular you are. Super popular. Yeah, we do. So you guys are in for a super duper duper treat. Mitzi Jensen, she's a professional
Can't even say it.
gardener, and and she's been doing it professionally for literally about 50 years,
No.
and
Yes, okay, professionally
for about 50 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to say that, am I?
That's okay.
Okay, because you've been translated a long time ago. I wasn't supposed to say how long. Okay, and she's 29 exactly. So anyway, here, let me do this. You get to hold that, and I'll take this. Anyway, she wanted to come and serve you guys, and she doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this anyways. Ahead of time, I asked Sarah to get a little. Did I put it back there? Where did I put it? Anyways, is that the list? So
Oh, yes.
she actually spent all her own money to get all this stuff for you guys. So give her a hand. Okay.
Love you.
I told her, I put in the email that I told her you need to do some consulting. So if anybody wants to have her come and help set up a garden, or how to save probably 10, 20 hours in trying to figure it out yourself, she'll come and go to your place. She'll actually teach you how to do it, teach you a whole bunch of principles and everything else. If anybody's interested even considering it, put your name down here to hire her to have her come by. And if anybody wants to throw in a couple dollars here and there to help her pay for this stuff, which I didn't tell her I was going to say, but anyways, I think that would be nice. Just give it to Sarah or somebody else. Just give it to her. Okay. Anyways, give her a hand, and we're super excited to have her, Mitzi.
Hi. Thank you. I don't know how close this thing needs to be. Right there. Is that good? Okay, Frank, can online people hear me okay? Okay. All right, hi you guys. So yeah, horticulture runs really deep in my roots. Get it? I'm gonna brag a little bit about my ancestors. All of my ancestors came over those mountains on wagons and stuff. And one of them bought some peach pits in Salt Lake City and went to Brigham City and planted them. Now we have peach days. So, and I'm sure that my English roots were farmers from centuries ago. Anyway, you know, once the bug hits you, you just can't stop growing plants. I love plants. So I've been interested in plants my entire life. My dad, bless his soul, he used to do cross pollination in the backyard in Palos Verdes, California. And of course, I was dad's little puppy, following him around. And I learned to love horticulture and love plants. And then when he was an aerospace engineer, and when he lost his job in the early 70s, and all the engineers were unemployed, my grandparents helped him to buy a plant nursery in San Clemente, California, called La Casa Verde Nursery. And guess who became slave labor at 50 cents an hour at 13 years old? So I loved it. And once that potting soil gets under your fingernails, it infects your blood. And then you're hooked for life. Well, that's how I am. And probably you guys are too. So I majored in it in college and have a degree in horticulture. And then I tried to find a job here in Utah because I ended up in Utah. And that was hard. But I ended up becoming the horticulture teacher at the Jordan Applied Technology Center in Sandy. And Devin, your son, was one of my students. So I did that for 7 years and brought FFA teams to state and national competitions. It was a lot of fun. So, I want to tell you a little story. That's why I have this up here. Sometimes we are all very different. We have different skills, different abilities, and different talents. And we're not born with them, mostly. Some of you are. Others of us have to really work hard for them. But sometimes you have to try something and find out that you really like it. And sometimes you have to learn things and go, oh, that's very interesting. I want to learn more, like a sponge. And when I was at the tech center, I took my students to an orchard over on 7th East in Sandy. It was a very neglected orchard, and they didn't care that teenagers were hacking away at their apple trees because nobody else was going to do it. So we went on a pruning practicum. And two of my 17-year-old boys, of course, we start with, the pruning. Where's my... Oh, hang on. Okay. You start with the biggest item to prune off. They loved this. Oh, yeah. And then when they got to loppers, oh my gosh, they were having so much fun cutting branches off of trees. And they were going, Ms. O, because that's what they called me. I was Overstreet back then. Ms. O, we love this. This is so fun. Can we do this for a living? Can you make money at this? I said, yes, and it gets better. You get paid to climb trees too. They thought they were in heaven. They had no idea until they tried it. So my challenge to you is, you may have no idea what you're going to fall in love with until you try it. I have invited my partner in crime here, Catherine Brown. We're both landscape We're both landscapers and horticulturists. She has a degree too. And she is a wonderful pruner, and I've invited her to take just a few minutes to talk about fruit tree pruning before we get into vegetable gardening, because that was the teaser. Maybe we'll have time. I want to make sure we have time, because your fruit is going to become your food also. Take it away, Catherine.
I don't have enough. Thank you. So how many of you have fruit trees? Oh, quite a few of you. How many of you prune your own fruit trees? How many of you are comfortable pruning your fruit trees? Oh, only a couple. Okay. All right. So on a basic tree, whether it's fruit tree or a deciduous regular tree, there are 5 things that you want to start with. You want to start with the dead branches, dying branches, diseased branches, anything that's rubbing or crossing, and anything that's growing into the middle. That's the basic pruning rules for a deciduous tree. For a fruit tree, it's a little bit different, and they can handle a little more pruning than a regular non-fruiting tree. But suckers are also suckers at the bottom. Pear trees are notorious for that. You will see it on some peach trees, but not as much, and apple trees. So you just need to keep those suckers from at the base of your tree clean and pruned. It takes energy away to grow a branch that doesn't produce fruit. So keep the suckers down. And then the other one is, you can see water sprouts. They are the branches that grow straight up. Those also rob a tree of lots of energy. So any of those branches that go straight up, those also need to come off. Now, fruit trees can handle, as Mitzi has said with her class, they can handle a lot of abuse. But you're wanting to get them into some basic shapes. A V shape or a vase shape, not a V shape, a vase shape for an apple. Well, you can do that with most of them. I prefer a vase shape for an apple tree and a scaffold shape for a peach tree.
I don't know what that means.
Scaffolding is, so you have here, we don't have, I'll use this little pointer. So here we would call this part of a scaffold. If we were to take this branch off and move it up to here, then you would have a second scaffolding. And anything in between the scaffolding you would remove. Yes. So if I were making a peach tree, I would have one come out here, one come out here, one come out here. On the next scaffold, they would come in the opposite places where the other ones sit. Does that help? Yes. And so because fruiting trees, in order for the fruit to mature, get big, and grow, they need the sunlight. Anytime they're shaded, they don't get as big.
Where's the brand stock located so you don't accidentally prune off that and get the wrong part of the tree?
So if you have just a regular tree, fruiting tree, the graft is going to be at the bottom.
So you don't have to worry about it.
The only time you need to worry about it is when you're planting it. If you plant it too low, then you're going to have branching and suckers and all new growth from the rootstock come and be a part of your brand new tree. So you need to keep that where that joins, you need to keep it above ground. Does that make sense? The graft. Okay. Yes. You have your rootstock on the bottom, and then your graft meets it right, probably, I don't know, that's
They did it
Three.
with pencil size.
yeah, so it and you'll be able to see a little ring. There it's slight, but it's there. Just make sure that's above it. If you have want more questions, then I can talk to you after. So where were we?
How much can you cut back on mature tree?
A mature tree, still the 30%. You have to do trees are something that you have to be patient with. If you go and take off 50 to 80% one year because you let your tree get way out of control one year, or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, and decide, oh, I need to take control over this because it's just taking over, you still have to do it only 30%. And then the next year you can take and do 30%. What will happen is the tree will just freak out on you, and it will,
Water sprouts
yes,
galore.
everywhere. So you have to be very patient with trees so that you don't do that. Any other questions?
Oh, wait.
Can I cut off the end branches so it's not so
So long?
huge?
Yes, you can bring those in.
Okay.
In fact, you'll want to do that because if you let them get way too long, then you end up with too much weight and it breaks. So you keep the length in, keep the height down, keep your scaffolding so that everything gets light. And then if you choose to do a vase shape, same kind of thing. Just keep everything in.
This alone could be a
A
2
whole
hour
nother class.
class.
You need to get going.
So let's take one more question. Oh, sorry.
Remove if you're removing the end branch that
We can't hear.
talk about. Do you in the middle?
No. No. You always want to cut on any tree, whether it's a fruiting or non-fruiting. You're always going to want to cut, say, this is our branch and I want to shorten it. You always want to make a cut in front of where there is a new leader. And by that, I mean at the end of every branch, there's a captain. And the captain keeps control of what goes on that branch. And if you cut off the captain in the middle of that branch, then everything is a party for all the buds or anything that might be dormant, and they just have a party. So you have to assign a new captain, which is just above where another branch comes out. Okay?
Maybe we need to have a pruning practicum for all of us. If anybody wants to volunteer their little orchard, let me know. I don't have an orchard right now.
And by the way, I think both of you guys can work on trees as well as gardens, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if anybody wants to help with the trees, and one of the things I did do is I have a friend of mine who is amazing at trees, and he came and actually taught me for a couple years. He would come every year and teach me about my fruit trees. And at first, when I cut the middle of my nectarine tree, like that whole branch in the middle, I was like, no, and everything. It was just the scariest thing in the world just to cut the middle of it. And after a while, all the nectarines came. I mean, I just learned so much just by being with somebody who knew what they were doing. and just watching them stretch out the apple tree branches and everything else. So just having somebody to come in and teach you for 1 to 2 years, you'll learn a ton on your own after that.
Okay, let's give Catherine a hand. Thanks, Catherine. Catherine and I have worked on yards together a few times. Okay, today we're going to get into vegetable gardening. Woohoo! I brought a few vegetables. I bought these today at Sprouts. So they were nice and fresh, just to make your mouth start watering. I love this time of the year because well, the snow is falling. We can start thinking about gardening in spring. I actually, as the snow is falling again, I just lost it.
Boy, we are having technical difficulties. Can you check on that side? Let me try this.
How do you turn this on?
That's one too. I think we have no mics. There it goes. Okay, can I swap? There you are. Try that.
Hello? No?
Test 1, 2. Check. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. There's one. We found one.
Okay. All right. Sorry, people online. Hi, people online. I have, yes. Oh, who has not received a handout? Sarah, let me know before the class is over how to make the handout available for those that are online. Oh, on our member website? Okay, some of my kids that are in 4 different corners of the country are not on the website yet. So, yes, we will post things on the website. All right, vegetable gardening. Okay, why should you grow a garden? Dinner, to survive. And we might have to use it to survive. It's a great skill. You get fresh vegetables. You get to plant what you like to eat. I love Swiss chard. This is Bright Lights variety. I love Bright Lights variety of Swiss chard. My dad loved to plant Swiss chard, and in California, it's a perennial. You just keep cutting off the bottom leaves, and it keeps going. But I love Swiss chard. It is very nutritious, lots of iron, and butter and salt and pepper. Oh, so good. You have the option of growing organically. I always was an organic gardener. It gives you empowerment over yourself. It gives you skills. It is very therapeutic. Did you know that gardening is the #1 hobby in America? Well, maybe online gaming is now, but back in the day. Because, we go to work in the office and then we're all stressed out. We're going, and then we change into our grubbies and we get out there and we play in the adult sandbox. And it's so wonderful. And it's good exercise, fresh air. Okay, today we're going to talk about where to place your garden, where to place your plants, about the plants themselves, and about the process of gardening itself. Now, warning, I have taught this horticulture course mostly in high school. I have taught adults also for adult ed, but this is a year-long course. So you're getting little snippets of things, and when we get to a slide, each slide is probably a whole lesson, 90-minute lesson in itself. Okay, first is the place. Where are you going to put the vegetable garden? Can you guys all see this? Okay, can you guys see this? Okay, good. Where are you going to put this vegetable garden? It doesn't necessarily need a whole big area the size of this room. It doesn't. That would be a lot of vegetables. I have grown a vegetable garden that was a third of an acre when I lived in Arizona. My kids remember that. Remember that? So you could plant your vegetables in the ground itself. Okay? We're going to talk about soil and such. You can plant your vegetables in raised beds. At the school where I taught for a total of 7 years, Paradigm High School in South Jordan, Utah, the students built 10 raised beds. And Glover Nursery, they donated the soil for it. So there's a special soil that you can put into your garden beds, and it's especially for these. It's easier on your back. You don't have to, get down on your knees and get down into the dirt. You have control of what kind of soil. So let's say you live in West Jordan or somewhere over here. And for you online, let me make it even. Let's say you have a clay soil, okay? And you can't grow anything because water just puddles and it doesn't dribble down in at all. Or let's say you live in sandy, which is named because it has a sandy soil and the water just goes, whoo, where'd it go? I just watered. You can control what soil your plants are growing in with raised beds, so it solves problems. However, you have to install these and it costs some money. And right now, with the cost of wood, yeah, it's a little bit pricey, but they're permanent and they're really nice. What if you have a small space? You say, I can't garden. I just have a small space. Well, there's solutions. You can go vertical. You can grow things on your patio with a window box or containers. You can do square foot gardening. And I actually have right here Mel Bartholomew's Square Foot Gardening book. It tells you how to do that. Be careful. I've tried this. There's a tendency to put too much into your each square foot, because plants have a mind of their own and they want to go, I am big. I don't care about you, my neighbor. I'm going to get the sun. And so they kind of take over. Yeah, that could get a little bit crowded. You could grow in a container. What if you have a townhome? You can still grow some vegetables. As long as you have sunlight, you can grow vegetables. There are some advantages of container gardening. If you want to grow mint, put it in a pot and don't let it anywhere near your soil because you will never get rid of it. It's kind of like morning glory. There are some disadvantages to containers. You have to be careful not to let it go pot bound or root bound. That could be a problem. Okay, edible landscapes. I have a book about that. Joy Bossy and Karen Bastow, they wrote this book, The Incredible Edible Landscape. Joy is one of my good friends. And as long as you have a shrub bed or a flower bed, it's probably on a sprinkler system. It's probably got soil in it. You've probably been amending it. And it probably has sunlight. Hey, why not put some vegetables in there? My friends, Swiss chard, have gone in my beds, my front beds, right in front of my porch. And it's beautiful. People come walking up and they go, that's a beautiful plant. I don't think I've seen that before. I said it's edible. Swiss chard. See how lovely it can be? So it can feed you too. And microclimates. Microclimates are unique little areas around your house. Maybe the north side of your house never gets the sun. That's a microclimate. And if your house is facing north, right, Robert? The snow never melts off your driveway. That's not a good place to put a garden. So utilize the microclimates, maybe the south or the west side of your home. Sprouts and microgreens are another wonderful thing. My friend Kathy loaned me her sprouting book. Sprouts are so nutritious. I've been growing these for just a few days now. These are alfalfa. When you sprout seeds, it increases their nutritional value mega times. I believe the sprouting book said 600% more vitamins when you sprout a seed. So sprouting, I believe, will save our lives because they've done studies in India with people that were malnourished, and when they had more availability of sprouted seeds, then less people died. And it was a documented study. If the explorers back in the day had sprouts on their ships, they wouldn't have gotten scurvy. So sprouting is a wonderful thing. And microgreens. Did you know you can sprout wheat? The wheat that Marcelo found is not only certified organic, non-GMO, it's heirloom. I didn't even know they made heirloom wheat. Heirloom. Anybody know what heirloom means? Yes, the seeds are viable. What is an heirloom seed?
The same plant will grow from it time after time after time. It's not a hybrid where it won't produce the same plant.
Correct. It's like a purebred. The same plant will grow from the seed again and again and again. You can save their seeds. So we're going to be planting today for a little activity some of these heirloom seeds. We have them in the store if you're interested. I actually went to IFA because this company used to sell them through IFA, and the lady there this afternoon said, "Oh, they're just online now." I went, "What?" This company is amazing. I've been using them for 30 years. Well, you can buy them and go pick them up. It's a True Leaf Market. So we're going to plant some sweet peppers and some Roma tomatoes and some cherry tomatoes today. And I'll explain our lab when we get to it. So yeah, you can grow wheat. It's called a micrograin. Okay. When you're picking a location, you need to be especially considerate of how much light that you have. My son Jared, hi Jared, he's at Myrtle Beach right now. I wish I was there. He had an app on his phone, and he could track the sun at his location in South Carolina, and he knew exactly which trees he had to take down in order to have enough light at his garden. Yes, they have too many trees there to grow a garden. So you need to have at least 6 to 8 hours of full sun every day in order to grow a garden. What happens? Anybody know what happens if you don't have enough light for your garden?
Insufficient photosynthesis.
Correct. Insufficient photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. It's that great, wonderful feeding thing that happens. It's why life exists on the earth. It's when the sunlight shines on the plants, and the plants can turn that light energy into chemical energy and store it as sugars. And then all other organisms rely on that. That's the basis of life. Okay, so full sun is really important. And we're going to return to this, so remember this when we're talking about row orientation. Okay, soil is super important. That is where life begins. If you don't have a good soil, you don't have a good plant above it. You need rich, healthy soil to support robust, healthy plants. And I'm going to get to that in a second. This is a whole nother lesson on soils. You're just getting a little tiny bit, a teaser. Okay, soil is made, this is science teacher Mitzi and me. Soil is made of parent rock that's been broken down or weathered into little bits. And these bits are 3 different sizes that make up soil. They're called sand, silt, and clay. Anything bigger than that is called rock. And the plant roots are not able to access the nutrients out of it very well. So sand is the biggest particle, and then silt, and then clay. Now, the mixture of sand, silt, and clay is called soil texture. Soil, you can just Google soil texture triangle. Write that down. Soil texture triangle. And you'll get a picture of this. Google Images. And you can print it. Ta-da! And there you have a soil texture triangle. You're going to want to do that so that you can find out what soil texture you have. See that big clay at the top? The big blue one? Yeah, most soils have a lot of clay in it. That's a little tiny particle. Let me explain to you how to use this. Let's see, I wish I had a little. Okay. No, we're going to come back to that after the next one. So the ideal soil, who knows what the ideal soil is? I heard it. Loam. This right here in the middle. Loam is a perfect mix of sand, silt, and clay. Looks like it's about 20% clay and about 40% sand and about 40% silt. Do you see how I did that? See, I'll get back to that. Okay, this is how you test your own soil. And I did some here. Ta-da! But it rode in the truck, so it's a little bit lopsided. So you can test your own soil to see what texture you have. You're going to gather soil samples from around your yard. Choose about 5 or 6 locations, random locations. Okay? Don't get the soil, you want the native soil. Okay? And you need to dig a little hole, use a trowel or something, or a trenching shovel like this. I use this trenching shovel. See, there's probably still dirt on it from today. This is a trenching shovel. You just need a sample, small sample, from 6 to 8 inches deep. And then you're going to put all those little samples into a bucket and mix it around because you want an average, a composite. Then you're going to take a jar, and it's really good to have a jar, preferably a mayonnaise jar. I sacrificed a curd jar because it has nice smooth sides on it. So you want something with smooth sides. If it has too much writing like this does, curd, blah, 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 then it's hard to see and measure on it and write on it. You're going to fill the jar 2/3 full with soil. You're going to add water up to the top and 1 drop of dish soap. Then you're going to shake, shake, shake for a full minute to shake all that stuff together. And then you're going to let it settle. Now this is already, I just did this today, and it's already settling pretty good. This is the line right here where it's the top of the soil. This is water. See how cloudy it is? The clay hasn't settled out yet, but a lot of the other particles have. The sand will settle out in just a few minutes. The sand's going to go to the bottom, and then you're going to have a silt layer, and then you're going to have a clay layer. And at the very top, you're going to have organic matter, if there is any. Yes, ma'am?
I just test a raised bed.
A raised bed, the same way. Yeah. And then you're going to measure each layer. So let's say that, here you go. You're going to use a ruler and use the metric side because you want millimeters. Don't mess with the English inches. They're going to mess you up. So use the metric side. You're going to measure how big is the total. Let's say the total height of this is, I'm just going to use an even number of 10 centimeters, or 10, wait a minute. Centimeters, yeah, 10 centimeters. Or is that millimeter? No, millimeters. We're going to use millimeters. So it'll be 100. Let's say it's 100 millimeters from the top to the bottom. Do not measure the glass at the bottom. You're measuring just the soil. So let's say 10 is the top. And let's say the sand layer is 20. And the silt layer is 10. How much would the clay layer be? 70, because they all add up to the total. Okay, do you know how to get percentages? Take the part divided by the total times the 100 gives you the percentage. Okay? Now you will know the percentage of sand, percentage of silt, percentage of clay. Now we go back. Now you're going to plot it. Let's say that percent clay right here. See, you can read the numbers. So you're going to be able to move your triangle different ways. Hold it so that you can read the numbers. If you can read the numbers, you go straight across horizontally and draw a line across your triangle. Okay? Then that's percent clay. Then percent silt, you'll have to turn it. So the numbers are going this way. So I'm going to hold it this way and draw a line across. Oh, silt, sorry, that was 10. It's up here. 10%. And percent sand is going to be going this way. Where those three lines intersect, that is your soil texture. Any questions? Okay, good. Okay, soil also has pore spaces. Those pore spaces, they're filled with air and water in different combinations. The organic matter and the mineral particles, the sand, silt, and clay, are in there, but they're not exactly packed together unless it's completely clay. But there would be very little pore spaces if it's 100% clay. So air and water are in varying, they vary. It's not always a certain percentage. It's not always 25% air, and not always 25% water. Why not? Yes, the conditions. What if it's a hot sunny day? You're going to have the water that's evaporating, right? And what if it just rained or you just watered? Then the water's going to displace the air. You have more water. Okay? So this is an average soil for across America. Yes? The OM is organic matter. Now this is a nationwide thing. The native soil here in Utah has, I had mine tested by BYU when I first built a house over in Riverton, and it said 1.65% organic matter. Yep. But my son out in South Carolina, he probably has a lot more than 5% organic matter because the leaves just fall and fill the soil. It's a lot of organic matter. Okay. Prepare your soil. You need to add 2 inches of compost every fall. Okay? Compost would consist of an average of 50% greens and 50% browns. Greens would be like your moist kitchen scraps. No meat. Okay? And 50% browns, that would be like your dried leaves and things like that, your dries. Grass clippings are greens, I believe. Yeah, grass clippings are greens. If you're going to put grass clippings in your compost pile, be very careful because some people put pesticides on there, like maybe a 2,4-D to kill the broadleaf plants, like the dandelions. If you put dandelion killer, it's probably has 2,4-D in it, and that will kill the broadleaf plants, like the broadleaf weeds in your lawns, but not harm the narrowleaf plants, like the grasses. So would you want that in your garden? No. So be careful about grass clippings. Okay, do not put horse manure in your compost. Catherine, tell us why.
I joined a little garden, a community garden, and there was a gentleman that had a friend who had horses, and he said, "Oh, you can come get all this manure that you want to put on this vegetable garden." And he had been doing it for a couple of years, and so when I started growing in that community garden, I kept coming across all these big round dry clods of something that I didn't know what they were.
Road apples.
And that first year, because I didn't know what they had been putting in the soil, my vegetable garden was not very successful. And now adding steer manure and a couple of other things, and saying to the gentleman, no, thank you, I don't want your horse manure. They grow really well now in that garden.
Thank you. Horses don't have the 4 stomachs that cows do. And so they only have 2. And they're not able to process the weed seeds very well. You're going to have weeds, plus it's very salty.
Can you use soil pep instead of compost if you don't have a compost pile?
Yeah. And you can also buy compost if you have access to a pickup truck. You can go out to the landfill and they make compost out there. Yes.
How about chicken?
Chicken is very good manure. Poultry manure is good. It could get a little hot, what we call hot, could burn your plants. So it needs to be composted itself. That's why we add our compost in the fall, because in the fall we add our compost, we till it in really deep, and hopefully throw in a few earthworms in there, beneficial microorganisms, and they chew away at it like Pac-Man. Remember Pac-Man? They chew away at it all winter long, and they're breaking it down. Now, fresh compost is using nitrogen. So if you add fresh compost and then expect to have available nitrogen right away, it might not work. So it needs to start breaking down. Okay? All right. And then rake it at soil level, and it'll be just beautiful for spring. You may not even have to roadkill in spring. Okay, water is really important. How are we going to water our gardens? In the western United States, we actually have to water our gardens. Drip is a very common way. You're delivering water only to the root zone of the plant that you want to water. I brought some drip hoses. Here. 2 different kinds. Oh! I'm going the wrong way.
What do you mean by root zone?
Where the roots are. So if your vegetable roots are 3 feet away, if your vegetables are right here and you're watering 3 feet away where there's no vegetable roots, you're wasting water and you're encouraging those lovely weeds to grow. So delivering water to the actual plant you want to irrigate is really important. This is one of my favorite kinds of soaker hoses here. It just beads of water comes out of it. You have to be really careful though with water pressure, because if the water pressure is too high, then you'll start getting geysers out of your hose. This is a hose that there's little holes every so often, and so it's more like a strip. Furrow, that's the way the farmers have done it for years and years. They dig a furrow and the water goes into the furrow. So that's a common way that's been done for farming, big scale farming. Overhead, I have done that before because that was my only option. Be careful about overhead watering because you're watering the whole area, including the walk paths, and that you might be encouraging weeds to grow. But in addition to that, the leaves do not drink the water. Okay? The water comes in from the roots up the xylem to the plant leaves. Okay? So you don't need to get the top wet. Could be some problems in getting your leaves wet, especially squash plants and things like that. They could develop mildew and such. And if you're watering in the heat of the day, then the sun will scorch them. It's like a magnifying glass. So I like drip myself. Okay, structures and supports. When you're planning your garden, you need to plan how you're going to what the plants are going to be growing on. And those should be built before you plant your plants. Trellises, arbors, cages. Make sure your tomato cages are strong. For example, I used 4-inch square hog wire and attached it in big circle, okay, like that. Planted my tomato in the middle with stakes also, and they go up and they kind of hang. They hang their arms out of the hog wire for support, and it's a great way. And the holes are big enough you can reach your arm in and pull out a nice big juicy red tomato. So stakes, teepees, fencing. You can grow things on fencing. Raised beds, cold frames, and shade structures. So build all that before you plant your plants. So that's a good thing to do as it's starting to warm up. Did you see the temperature here in Utah this week forecasted? It's going from 32 as a high to 35 to 40 to 45 to 50 to 52. I'm going, come on, spring, you groundhog, you. Okay. Maximize the space that you have. You can go grow vertical. The sun is coming in, okay? It's coming in at an angle, and it's available. So maximize the space that you have by going vertical. My sister and I planted some lovely arbors in her garden a couple years ago, and that was so fun. She had some vines growing over them, and it's interesting to see what will hang. Look at these. I think those are gourds. Those are spaghetti squash hanging. I've actually seen bigger things than that, and some people just put a sling under it to support them. You can go vertical. Okay, now we're going to talk about the plants, and I got to speed up because I want you to get to your lab and get home. We're going to end at 8, I guarantee. Okay, vegetable garden plants. Here's where some science comes in. I love science. Okay, I got 2 degrees in it. I love science. So fun. Okay, you remember biology class? Who remembers this from biology class? Oh, very few. Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, good. Okay, plants are in the plant kingdom. There's like 6 kingdoms. Plants are in the plant kingdom. And we're going to look at, this is the classification of a garden tomato. The subkingdom is vascular plants. So they have vascular systems of xylem and phloem. Like we have blood veins, that's their vascular system. Superdivision is seed plants or spermatophyta. The blue is the Latin names. The division is magnoliophyta or flowering plants. The class of garden tomatoes are dicotyledons. We'll get to that. There's another slide for dicots and monocots. Subclass is Asteridae, and the order is Solanales. Family, Solanaceae, potato family. Tomatoes are in the potato family. The genus is Solanum, which is also a nightshade. The species is Solanum lycopersicum. Okay, that's the garden tomato. All right, then, any questions about this? You got it? Okay. Latin. Yes. Yes, it will. Okay. Okay, going back to classes. I'm teaching you this because you're going to have to know about plants. You're going to be reading about plants as you're picking out which plants you want to grow in your garden. So that you'll be knowledgeable. Okay, of the flowering plants, monocots have, mono means one. One leaf comes out of the seed first. Okay, monocotyledon has 1 cotyledon in the seed, and 1 seed leaf comes out of that cotyledon. Di means 2. 2 seed leaves come out. There's 2 cotyledons. You know a bean seed has 2 halves, like a clam? 2 clam shells. Okay. 2, di means 2, so there's 2 leaves that come out of that. So when you plant your corn, you see 1 little leaf coming up. What is it? monocot. And you see your bean coming out. What is it? Dicot. Okay. Most of your plants that you're going to grow in your garden are dicots. The first leaf that comes out of that seed is called the primary leaf. And it doesn't look like the grown-up leaves. The second set of leaves that come out look like, oh, mini me, grown-up leaves. Those are called secondary leaves. All right, what is the first thing, the first object that comes out of the seed? The root. It's called a radical. That is radical, man. So radical. Okay. Now, if we go down from species, there's subspecies. You're going to see this. Subspecies. There's hybrids, varieties, and cultivars. A hybrid is a cross between two species of the same genus. And it's given a different name than its parents. So Symphytum cross Atlanticum is a cross between a parent Symphytum asperum and Symphytum officinale. They crossed two different species of the same genus, and they got a different plant. That's a hybrid. That is that heirloom? No. Okay, a variety is where, let's say, Symphytum officinale, about 10% of it maybe naturally looks different from the rest. That's a naturally occurring difference. So it's a variety. And a cultivar is where mankind has taken a variety and going, oh, that ochroleucum is really cool. I think we'll make more of it. Can they make more of a variety just by saving the seed? No, why not? Yes, maybe only 10% of them look the way you want it to look. So how can they reproduce that? Grafting. They have to do asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is where you take the sperm from the male plant, and the egg from the female. Yes, it works in plants too. I got lovely sex ed talks with my high school students, and they didn't really understand what I was talking about. Some of them did, but yeah, I got to say things like, so if you don't want to have little plants, then don't let the daddy plant cross with the mommy plant. Yeah, I got to do great commercials there. Okay, next. Plants have requirements. Yes.
Oh, hello. So what's genetically modified? Is that
That's coming up.
what was on that screen, or
Nope,
it's something different?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Good question. Okay, plants have requirements. And this is how you get that green thumb. Okay, I hear people say a lot, oh, I can't grow plants. I don't have a green thumb. I just mess it up all the time. I say all they need is air, water, light, nutrients, and the right temperature. That's all. If you're going to ignore your plants and let it go dry, you're right, it's going to die. Okay, plant nutrition. This is a whole nother class. You're getting one screen. There are 17 essential elements the plants must have, or they're going to tell you about it. Usually what their leaves look like. Maybe we can have another class in the summer where we can cover fertilizers, pests and things like that, pesticides, and once you're into it, going, now what? I've got aphids galore and I want it organic. What do I do? So maybe we can cover stuff like that. But these are essential elements that plants have to have. They'll show you in their leaves. They'll tell you. They'll scream it to you. I go walking in a greenhouse and I hear them all. They're like, I'm going, I'm so sorry. I forgot to do that for you. They will talk to you. Okay, your soil pH, the potential of hydrogen to bond, influences whether the nutrients are available for the plants. Most plants like a pH of 6.5. about, okay? Most essential nutrients are available when the pH is between 6.0 and 6.5. Well, we don't live in Oregon, and we don't live in the northeast. We live in Utah, where our soil and water is 8.0 to 8.5. And we're going, oh, that's why I have such a hard time. Yes. So what will lower your pH to the desired level? What do you think you can add to your soil? Something that's acidic. No, lime will raise the pH. Iron, you can add chelated iron. Battery acid, Marcelo, that's good. Starts with a C, ends in ost. Compost, yes, organic matter. Organic matter is the answer to almost everything in the garden. It will lower your pH and will get it closer to what the plants need. They'll go, oh, thank you. Now I can drink that copper and zinc. It might be there in the soil, but they can't get it. It's beyond their reach. They're in jail at 8.0. I can't get to it. It's starving, man. Okay. Lifespan of animals. Lifespan of plants. Some plants just live 1 year. Their seeds will germinate, they will flower, they'll bear fruit, and the end of the season, they all die, roots and all. Those are annuals. Petunias, watermelons, etc. Some plants are biennials, and they will live 2 years. The first year, they will germinate, and they will send up leaves, and they'll look lovely. And the next winter, then their top dies down, and their roots stay alive under the soil. Okay, those are biennials. The next season, they will bloom. They'll come up again out of the roots, and then they will flower that second year, and then they'll die. Some are perennials. These are all herbaceous plants. I'm not talking woody shrubs and trees. Perennials, they will live 3 seasons or more. They'll act like a biennial, but they will keep growing year after year. Some are short, only 3 years, and some are long-term perennials. Okay, plants are sensitive. They're very sensitive about the temperature that they like. Okay, some really like it cool. Like Frank in the warehouse. It could be freezing in the warehouse, and he's in there with a short-sleeved t-shirt and shorts. And I'm with my winter coat going, oh. So some really like it cool. And some really can't germinate unless it's at least 70 degrees. So make sure you don't plant your cucumbers outside in March right now. They won't make it. Okay? Frost days. Wherever you are in the country, you need to be aware of what your frost days are. The average last frost of the season, and for Salt Lake Valley, the average last frost is May 8th. And the average first frost in the fall is October 25. Now, if you're in South Carolina, it might not be that. And there's many different areas all over the country that you need to know about. You just need to call your extension company or go to extension companies. So every single state has what they call a land grant college. And the government, the federal government, back in 1862, President Lincoln made sure that there were each of the land grant colleges, one for each state, was gifted some land that they could sell to establish a program where we would continue to teach our youth how to feed ourselves. So it's agriculture based, also for other purposes, but mostly agriculture. And so you just look up your extension or look up Land Grant College, and you can get their website, and they have wonderful resources. So for South Carolina, Clemson is their land grant college. For Utah, it's Utah State University. They have a wonderful extension service. They have master gardeners, I am one, that they will give you lots of information. You can call them or you can look up all their wonderful information online. Okay, so if you have a frost, you need to protect your garden. If you think the temperature might be going 40 degrees or less at night, cover them up with sheets, with whatever. This is a Harvest Guard protective stuff that you can put on your garden. I've had this for a while. You just cover up, make sure you weigh it down on the edges. This will protect it a few degrees. Okay. Otherwise, they'll look like that, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, the sun comes out and they'll be black. Yuck. All done. Okay, heirloom versus hybrid versus GMO. Here's the answer to your question. So an heirloom is a pure species. Plant A, daddy plant A, mixes genetics. A bee goes to daddy plant A of one species. The bee goes to mommy plant A of the same species, and voila, the seeds are the same species. Species plus species equals the same species. A hybrid, you take two different species and cross them. The bee goes from flower with the long yellow pepper, and then the bee goes to the flower of the short red pepper. That worked out really good. Thank you, Sprouts. And voila, you have a long red pepper. So I got long from one parent and short and red, or red from the other parent. That's a hybrid. This is the F1 generation, the first generation of the cross. Okay, a GMO is a genetically modified organism. So they took an organism, and I don't know if it could be an heirloom, it could be a hybrid. They took a species and they inserted a gene. It's a section of DNA. And they do this in a lab, and they insert a gene into the chromosome of that particular organism. In this case, it's a plant. So they've taken a gene for Bacillus thuringiensis. That's a bacteria. We call it BT. You can actually buy BT in a powder in a container, mix it with water and water it into your plants, and that bacteria will be present in the soil, and all of the larvae, like the fungus gnat larvae in the soil, if you overwater your plants, that's very common, they will eat the BT, the Bacillus thuringiensis. That bacteria will get inside of that larvae and kill them. No more larvae. Stops the generations. So they said, hey, let's just take the BT gene and insert it into the corn plant chromosome. So when the bugs, the corn borer, European corn borer, eats the plant, they're getting that BT. And then they die. What happens when we eat it? BT, however, doesn't harm people. Okay, but I don't know what else they're adding.
I have a philosophy. I strongly believe in the American principle of a person is innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. But a new man-made chemical that has never existed in nature, to my standards, is guilty until proven innocent for existence in 1,000 years without doing any harm. That we don't have much of that.
Thank you. So you guys can make your own decisions about GMOs, but a lot of people have feelings about that. I'm one of them. So I know that the food that we find to put into our cans is not GMO. We source food that is not GMO because a lot of people don't want GMO. So anyway, that's what that is. Okay, you also need to choose what you want to plant and how much to plant. The handout that I gave you has a lovely list that I could not find on the website anymore. This list I got from Utah State University. It's a list of vegetables with all kinds of information about the vegetable. When you should plant it, how much you should plant, get your yield, all kinds of information. You can also use that to list the vegetables. Talk to your family. Do you guys like kohlrabi? Do you guys like leeks? Do you guys like, ask your family or whoever you're sharing food with if they like the certain foods. Maybe you don't like it, but somebody else does. Then grow it. Maybe you're somebody you're going to share food with wants to have that food. Then grow it. But if nobody in your family likes zucchini, just because it's easy to grow, don't grow it. It's a doorbell ditching item. Okay, so choose the varieties you want. Estimate the yield. How much do you want? Just because zucchini is easy to grow, you don't want 10 feet of zucchini plants, I guarantee. This is zucchini dehydrated. I thought I'd try it. Throw it in some soup, Then mark your calendar with the planting dates that you want to do, and then check with your state extension service website for details. I want to share with you a log. Is that next? No. Yes. This was my dad's planting log. Thank you. This was his log. You should keep a log about your garden. So he wrote down what he wanted to plant, the dates they should be planted. Should he sow them directly in the field? Should he or should he make transplants and plant seeds ahead of time? So write your notes. He has lots of notes here. And then he's got his garden plan. And that's what your graph paper is for. I gave you each a graph paper, and you guys at home, you should get some graph paper. And I'll show you in just a minute how to do that. And he drew out his garden on graph paper. You didn't, would you pass it? Thank you, Sarah. Lovely Sarah is going to pass out graph paper for you. Anyway, keep your notes and then refer back to them every year. What did I do last year? Where did I put those tomatoes? I can't remember. And if you kept good notes, then you will. Okay, pick your varieties. Family choices. What does your family like? The volume of harvest. Do you want to preserve your food? Here's some peppers. Here's some tomatoes. This is a jar jacket, by the way. I made them out of fleece. It's really easy. I slide them over my jars. And that way, if there's an earthquake, then there's less of a chance for the jars to break. I store my jars. These are tomatoes from my garden. No, this is a fabric store item. I just bought some any whatever color fleece, cut them in rectangles, and folded the rectangle over like that, and just kept running them through the sewing machine. Cut them apart. We have a jar jacket. And it just goes over like that. These are some that my friend Kathy made. This is basil. See? No, it's dehydrated. That's dehydrated. This is Swiss chard, dehydrated. Okay. Make sure you plant enough to share with others. It's a wonderful neighbor gift. Whoa. Okay. That was weird. Okay, seeds. Then you're going to purchase your seeds. You're going to start some indoors. Tonight you're going to be able to start some. And you're going to direct sow most of your seeds. Most of your seeds like to be put directly into the garden. They don't like to be transplanted. They don't like to be transplanted. Make sure that some of them may not germinate. Most of them will. Most of the seeds that you get, fresh seeds, will probably have a germination of at least 80%. typically. It says on the package. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see anything. So you're going to plant them a little bit closer than what you would think would, if 100% would germinate, and then you can thin them later. You're going to start some seeds indoors. Make sure that you have something like this. If you just have it right next to a kitchen window, those seeds are going to start leading towards the kitchen window. The auxin hormone is going to grow the other side to lean the plant towards the light, and then they're going to get leggy between the internodes, and that won't be a good transplant. So you should probably plant some tomatoes, peppers, celery, broccoli, or cabbage. Or you can go to your local nursery and get the little plantlets. Okay, make sure you have enough light. The light needs to be about 6 inches away from the top of the plant. Yes.
Do you know where you can buy those at a good price? Because I just looked at those online last night and they're pretty pricey.
The lights and stuff, the whole thing. So yeah, that you can buy a lot of little starts at the nursery for $400. I made mine by, I had an extra shelf, and then I had I bought or had some 4-foot fluorescent light fixtures and chained them to the shelf above, and the chain allows you to lower and raise the lights. As the plants grow, you're going to raise the lights higher, but they need really strong light, and it doesn't have to be grow lights. It doesn't have to be. It might be better if they were grow lights, which gives you a certain wavelengths of light, which plants like best. I've done it with regular fluorescent tubes. Okay, germination. I get giddy about germination. Rob Larkin, you're not watching this. He's in Thailand right now. But when I was working for Larkin Cemeteries, I was the landscape manager there. And I had this huge greenhouse. It was much bigger than both of these store areas. It was huge. And I got to grow plants in the whole thing for the bedding plants, and we grow poinsettias for the whole, all 4 of their locations for all of our beds and flowers. And when the plants started coming up, I was like, oh, look, they're germinating. It was just so exciting. So see the radical coming out of that seed? And then the shoot comes up, the primary leaves, and then the secondary mini-me adult leaves come out. I love that. Life. Okay, you're going to love it too. As your transplants grow, make sure that the roots have filled in the little container that they're in. So each of you are going to get a 6-pack. When it's ready to transplant, the roots need to be touching the sides of the cell that they're growing in. They need to be really full. If you see a little root poking and you can't see roots all around, it might not be ready yet, okay? Especially for tomatoes and peppers. You need to have a good, strong root system. When you transplant, plant the plant at the same soil level as it was growing. If you plant it too deep, it might suffocate. If you plant it too high, the root ball will dry out and the plant will die, except for tomatoes. Tomatoes, you're going to remove their lower leaves, leave some up the top for photosynthesis, dig a deep hole, and plant it in there up to the neck. Because they have root buds along their stems. And if you have some wonderful, yummy, delicious soil, those root buds are going to go yee-haw and go out into the soil, and they are going to love the soil, and they're going to fully more nourish the plant. You're going to have a wonderful plant. Yes?
I only have one place that's sunny enough to grow tomatoes. And can I grow them there every year?
Good question. She asked if you can grow, she only has one place that's sunny enough for tomatoes. Can I grow them there every year? The answer is no, because there's a microorganism that doesn't migrate very much in the soil, but its favorite plants are the nightshade family. Your tomatoes, your peppers, your solanaceae. And if you plant tomatoes in the same spot every year, then those microorganisms are going to multiply. They're going to cause verticillium wilt. They're going to plug up that xylem, and no water can come up, and they're going to wilt. Well, the soil's wet. Why is my plant wilting? It's all plugged up. So every 4 years, only every 4 years, can you've got to rotate your the Solanaceae family, and it can't come back until the 4th year. Yeah. Okay, growth habits. Here's tomatoes. Indeterminate means they keep growing and growing and growing and bearing fruit until the temperature says stop. Determinate, so the indeterminate, sorry, those are for pick and eat. Those are for like patio tomatoes. You want some tomatoes all season. Determinate, they reach a predetermined height, say, okay, I'm an adult now, and they bear all their fruit in a few weeks. Those are your canning tomatoes. Beth, you had a question.
You were saying that you can't plant your tomatoes in the same spot, but what if you're tilling your garden and moving the soil throughout the whole garden?
You're not moving whole quantities
Of the
10
like
feet
replacing
and
the
putting,
entire soil is basically what you would have to do.
yeah, it's just move your tomato. Don't plant your tomatoes in the same spot. Have a 4-year rotation.
Okay.
How far do you have to move this
Hold on a sec.
How far?
original?
I would say at least.
Can you repeat the question for
Oh,
those on
he asked how far do you have to move your tomatoes in order for this little microorganism not to follow it? I would say at least 12 feet. Yeah, I would say. Okay, vegetable garden process. I have very little time to finish this. I'm going to start talking faster now. The process. I already talked about a garden log, keeping track of everything, especially your pesticide and fertilizer applications, your sowing and transplant dates, etc. So keep track of those in your log. Design your garden on paper. You should have a piece of graph paper now. Your assignment, I'm a teacher, so have been. I still have a year on my teaching license. I'm a teacher. So you need to measure your garden area. How much space do I have? And then go to your graph paper. Your graph paper has 4 squares per inch. You decide how much linear space each square is going to equal. If you have a grow bed, awesome. You can make it nice and big, maybe whatever, okay? So draw it to scale on your graph paper. I suggest that you orient your rows going east to west. The sun rises in the east, sets in the west. You'll have fewer shading problems if you do that. So east to west at about 40 degrees latitude or whatever. That's pretty much standard, unless you're down in the southern tip of Florida. Consider the mature sizes. Oh, this is a cute little tiny thing. Oh, I'll put this other cute little tiny thing right next to it. Guess what? Those cute little tiny things grow up. I have a few of them that grew up really big now. And consider the mature sizes, so give them room to grow. If they crowd each other, it will stunt them. Consider companion planting. Carrots love tomatoes. Okay, there's some plants that like to be next to another, and like marigolds will help to keep the insects away from other plants that like peppers, aphid magnets. Okay. Yes. Wait.
Could you describe the chemistry of marigolds? The reason why I ask is it's of the same family as ragweed, of which many people are allergic to the pollen of it, and that's hay fever. But marigold flowers are very high in zenaxanthin, which is a really good antioxidant, particularly for your eyes.
I didn't know that part. That's really cool to
So
know
what's
about
the
marigolds.
toxin? Because
The bugs don't like marigolds, basically.
what's it do to us?
Nothing. I don't think it, unless you have allergies to them.
I think I do.
Yeah, okay, then don't plant marigolds. Okay, so plan your work and then work your plan. Now figure out what items, what tools and equipment you have, and what do you need. Okay, these are just some basic tools. I brought a few as examples. When you put your garden in, make sure it's convenient to where you're going to be using your things, your food. Descending height. So put your taller items like your tomatoes and your corn on the north side of your garden, and then going to the shorter plants on the south side of your garden. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, then you do the opposite. Okay? Wide rows. I love wide rows. Wide rows are more efficient use of space, it maximizes your yields, and it reduces weed growth. And I had my brother-in-law Robert bring my yard rake. This is my 3-foot wide yard rake. This is how I mark my wide rows. So I lay it out by going along each edge with a measuring tape, and I measure and mark. I put a stake in 3 feet wide. Right here I put a stake in, right here I put a stake in, and then I have a 1.5 walkway, 1.5 foot walkway. And I put a stake in for the next row. 3 foot wide row, 1.5 foot walkway. 3 foot wide row, 1.5 foot walkway. Most of my garden is like that. You will maximize yields. Do not do one little row of carrots, then a walkway, another little single row of carrots, and then a walkway. You will waste so much space. Where did I put my clicker? There it is. You will have lots of yield if you do that. Mark your rows. 6 to 8 foot blocks for sprawlers. Your big plants that go, your watermelons, your melons, and your winter squashes and such. Corn needs to be wind pollinated, so plant it in a block. I like that with the bonnet on. Succession planting. Plant every 2 weeks for continuous harvest. Beets, carrots, things like that. You want lettuce. You want a continuous harvest, then you plant sections every 2 weeks. And you'll have lots of harvest all season long. Companion planting, I talked about that. This is the 3 sisters, the corn, the squash, and the beans. They all help each other with nutrients and support and stuff. Okay, this is the key to an easy garden. You take a bucket and a weeder tool. Every day you get home and you go, hello, little plant. Oh, you're so pretty. There's a weed by you. Oh, let me get that. You feel better now? Oh, good. And you go to the other plant. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, there's some aphids I see on you. I'm so sorry. Let me go get the soap spray. You feel better now? Oh, good. So you go talk to your plants. They'll talk to you back. You take care of them. A stitch in time saves 9. Okay, as my mother told me. You visit it daily. See, she's taking care of it. Just go talk to it. Doesn't take very long. If you don't visit it daily and you don't see it, oh yeah, I haven't seen you for a month. Where are you, garden? I can't see you because there's so many weeds in the way. So yeah, visit it daily. It doesn't take very much time. Thinning, when you want to thin, you cut. Don't just rip them out, it'll rip the roots next to it. Make sure you do periodic maintenance, fertilize, prune, support. This is in your little daily walk. And sometimes you might take a little bit longer than a few minutes. When you harvest, early morning when it's nice and fresh, early morning harvest. It'll be moist and wonderful. So the bounties that you will get will give you a feeling of self-sufficiency. I did that. It will give you such good nutrition, and you will develop skills that you didn't know you had. Share the harvest with other people. Share the bounties. This is just like giving cookies at Christmas time, but better. Okay? You will get to know new neighbors you never knew. Here, I have some extra vegetables. Would you like them? Oh, sure. Come on in. Let's have a chat. This is a great opportunity. Maybe they're having a hard time, and you can share your bounty with people that need it. Preserve your food. Can, dehydrate, freeze dry. Put it in the root cellar or your basement. Cool, dark, and dry. Save your heirloom seeds. There's a book about that. I recommend you get it. Seed sowing and saving. This is the book. It has information about every different kind of plant that you might want to save the seeds from. Yes, seed sowing and saving. It's an excellent book. Especially, you should save your seeds from your heirloom seeds. That's why you buy heirloom seeds. Then you have a lot for next time. Okay, collect the seed, clean it, store it in containers, label it, cool, dark, and dry. End of season, party's over. Plan for next year. Here's your rotation. You need to rotate next year's garden. Plan at the end of the season to rotate. So you just plan your garden for next season. And next season comes, oh, I already got my garden planned. Ta-da! So draw it out for next year. Note changes. Remove your plants and weeds. Add your soil amendments. And rototill deeply. That's in the fall. Equipment, make sure you put all your tools away, clean them, put them away, store them out of the weather. Take the gas out of your mower, etc. Now is the time you can extend your season with cold frames or the greenhouse cold structures and such like that. Oh, that was it. I'm done. Ta-da! One moment. I had one question, and then I wanted to explain this really fast. So for our lab, after we're done, and you people online, you can do this as well with pot or whatever you can find.
Not that type of pot, right?
No, not
Okay.
that type of pot.
Pots, right? Okay.
A container with seeding soil.
See, this is a pretty popular class now.
Yeah. So I have pre-moistened this soil. You will need to take a pen or a pencil and put a little hole. You plant a seed. The depth of the planting of the seed is 3 times the diameter of the seed. Carrot seeds are very small, just barely into it. Bean seeds are big, so they go down like an inch. Got it? Okay, so there's 3 different varieties of seeds. You can plant 2 of each one and you'll have a full set, or you can plant 1 of each one and you will have 3 more cells for whatever you want to plant at home. Okay?
So just to be clear, you bought all these and everybody gets one of these.
Everybody gets 1 of these 6-packs.
Okay.
To plant
That's
these
awesome
in
what she did for you
and
guys,
take
by the way.
home. Thanks
And,
for coming.
Yeah, and let me a couple things. So do we have any more heirloom seeds?
Yes,
Do we have these inside the store?
yes.
Okay.
I bought this
So-
one, by the way, so I could
Oh,
use
you're
it.
fine. No, I wouldn't let you use one for free.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, so we got heirloom seeds. We have sprouting, all the sprouting tools and seeds and everything else. And more important than all of that is we have Mitzi. And so, what days do you work here?
6 days a week,
All
sir.
6. Well,
Yes.
you're at the warehouse a little bit too.
I'm at the warehouse Tuesday and Thursday, and
Okay.
I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I don't know of any other preparedness store that has as high of professionals as this store has. And it's nothing I did, just to let you know. Well, maybe there's something I did to influence a little
I
bit.
found you.
Yeah, the thing about it is they have come here, and I don't think it's by mistake. I feel like they've been led here, just like I've been led by my wife and somebody else above, to start the store to help people. And so while they're here, and by the way, I can't pay them enough. I don't have enough money to pay them. I'm not taking a salary myself. And the thing about it is, this is a labor of love. These girls could be getting paid a lot more than they're getting paid. So please come and take advantage of what they have to offer here, and ask them questions. Come in the store. Do what you can to learn from them. And also, I know that was a lot of information. All of you who have the course, I'm planning on editing this and posting it probably within the week. And can you give me PDFs of the handouts?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could put those PDFs on the course as well, so you can get to them as well. So anyways, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, you'll be here, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
you
if you
can
guys
ask
have
me.
questions, and also did that list get around to get her and her helping? Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Okay. Oh.
perfect. Wow, you're gonna be busy.
So you might have to have somebody else on Saturday.
There you are. We might have to get somebody covered.
Catherine and I can do Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, right?
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. No, in fact, I want to make sure you guys are taking
Thank you.
taken care of. Well, have you noticed I haven't eaten or slept much lately?
Yeah.
I can't even talk. I can't even say
Horticulture.
That's what
Care of the garden.
Horticulture.
Culture.
There
Care
you
of the
are.
garden.
Anyways, give her a hand again, you guys.
Thank you. Hi, my family and friends, and all of you wonderful people. You guys are our family and friends. Thank you very much for joining us. Question? There's less and less bees. That's true. I'm not sure why, but I think some chemicals might have something to do with it. I haven't kept bees for a number of years, so I don't know. Hey, come on up here if you want to plant some seeds.